move on and address this story and what are the possible factors behind it. Srikumar Krishnamurthy, Senior Vice President at ICRA, and Shruti Saboo, Director at India Ratings. Both are now joining us to analyze the situation. Shruti, let me start with you. What exactly is happening? I mean, Anisha and I were discussing that how the SUV culture in India has gripped the entire passenger vehicle market for last decade or so, that over 30-40% of the overall passenger vehicles are now SUVs. Are we hitting a point that there is crowding out in the market and hence downward revision in prices happening? Because we are seeing a downward cut in SUV prices after a very long time.
Yeah, you rightly said that, SUVs have seen significant growth if we see over the last 2 to 3 years. And post-COVID, what we have seen, the trend of, people premiumizing their vehicles, people buying a higher ticket vehicles, all these trends we have kind of seen. But now what has happened, as we have been saying also, is that a lot of replacement demand was preponed over the last few years. So what we had seen, people had savings after COVID and they had, be it upgrading their vehicle or buying a new vehicle, they had done that. So a lot of SUV demand was driven because of that as well, when people were upgrading their vehicles. But now what we are seeing is that, there is a lull in demand to a certain extent. There is a lot of inventory, as you guys have rightly said, that there is inventory days of 62 to 67 days. And earlier, what we were seeing was that this inventory was piling up in smaller cars, discounts started coming in smaller cars. But now we are seeing that this is also, coming up in SUVs too. And inventory days have started to come up on a higher side in SUVs as well. So, a couple of factors, a lot of demand, which was, as I said, was preponed, even including replacement demand. Then currently the demand is on a lower side, be it because of, extreme heat waves, monsoons. People also reserve their demand for the quarter 3 when there is a festive season, there are new launches we see. So all these factors put together, plus main factor being the inventory, which is lying on a very higher side as of now, we are seeing that there are discounts coming on the SUV side as well.
Okay, that point is completely taken. Let me bring on board Mr. Krishnamurthy as well into discussion. Mr. Krishnamurthy, just 3 months ago, we were all discussing how the waiting periods are high. Things were looking very rosy for the entire auto sector, plus this entire push coming in from the government and the entire, regulatory easing, whether it's hybrid cars or a push towards CNG, etc. All of that augured well for the sector and the demand. What has changed materially in the last 3 months, you believe, that now that, waiting period has now changed to higher inventory in the system?
A couple of points, one, we'll have to acknowledge the fact that, we have been, one of the fastest growing markets within the PV segment, even globally. Post-COVID, certainly all segments, all sectors had a kind of, impact during the COVID period, but the recovery or the bounce back post-COVID was pretty significant in the PV segment in particular, and even compared to the global markets, we were outgrowing. So there is some amount of elevated base that has kind of kept in. Certainly the factors like the pent-up demand and the new launches in SUVs, all these kind of had supported the growth in the last couple of years. So we are one side is that we are kind of talking from a slightly higher base, and the fascination for the SUVs continue to be there. It's while it's a temporary phase that we are seeing some discounting happening, but over long term, structurally we see that utility vehicles are the kind of vehicle of choice. And having said that, two factors which will have to be considered is the fact that there is a pileup of inventory because of the softened demand that we are observing in the last 2 to 3 months amidst the election time frame, and also to some extent the heat waves, etc. And also the other aspect is the kind of the OE's approach towards ahead of the festives. They try to kind of have a consumer friendly pricing environment. All these factors are kind of resulting in we expect this to be a kind of temporary phase, but post election we do expect the production schedule to kind of be altered and to be kind of remodeled.
Sure. So Mr. Krishnamurthy, if I had to ask you to put it in either of the buckets, because right now M&M is saying this is just a celebratory offer, this is not really a price cut. Do you agree with that? Is it a price cut, or do you think it's just an offer for that consumer sentiment ahead of the festive season that you're saying?
The way one will have to look at is that in the till at least last month, the kind of discounts that were observed in the market were, say, in hatchbacks, sedans, and electric vehicles. If this has to kind of extend to SUVs as well, one can't ignore the fact that there is a softness in demand. And from a consumer mindset, also everyone looks for something that comes with better pricing and a new variant per se. So it's more a marketing strategy, possibly to kind of push volumes just ahead of the season per se. So, but can't ignore the fact that there is a high base that we are actually coming from, and also some softened demand. So one will have to wait and watch over the next few quarters in terms of how the demand pans out.
I want to talk to you about Srikumar. I just want to understand how's the competitive intensity. Well, there are every OEM out there, and the numbers are only increasing, is launching a SUV now. And how do you see the market share? Do you think market share will get fragmented? The companies, the bigger ones which have up till now cornered giant market share, will have to kind of give up some, and things will get fragmented because of massive offerings?
Consolidation is certainly happening with the kind of rollouts of multiple models. Rather than the market share, I would like to comment about the segment share, how it had actually kind of panned out. It used to be more 40% kind of vehicles used to be around utility vehicles. Now it is like 60% plus. And basis the kind of launches and also the phasing out of the higher discounts being seen in the entry vehicles, it appears that the utility vehicles will continue to have its fair share of run in the market for some more time. And the policy supporting, we would obviously continue to see more players getting into the market, and the competitive intensity remains high in the industry, no doubt about that.
Shruti, just to wrap up the discussion, I wanted your understanding. When you say there is a bit of a cut when it comes to, let's say, the demand of SUVs, is this an overall slowdown in demand, or are people just transitioning, let's say, from SUV to sedan back again, or some other types of vehicles? Is it a complete elimination of demand or curtailment of demand, or is it just a shift which is happening?
Sorry, if you could just repeat your question, I couldn't hear it.
Sure. Shruti, what I'm asking you is there a overall slowdown in demand itself, or this is just a mere shift from SUVs to other segments?
See, it's a combination of both. Rather, I would say there is, we are not seeing any shift which is happening from SUV to other segment, because if you will still see, SUVs are growing at a faster pace versus the normal passenger cars. So SUVs, as my colleague was saying, is rightly here to stay. Rather, in maybe next couple of years, we will see the demand shifting towards more premium SUVs. Now, on the demand side, what I would say is that first quarter and second quarter are usually anyways a leaner quarter. And what we have seen over the past 3 years is that demand have been on a significantly higher side. We have seen solid growth coming in the industry. So this is a combination of high base which is getting reflected, particularly in the first half. In the second half, once OEMs come up with their new launches, there is a festive season, we are likely to see an improvement. But yes, this year, particularly the entire FY25, is likely to see a relatively lower growth versus what we have seen in the past 3 years because of higher base.
Okay, Shruti, as well as Mr. Krishnamurthy, thanks so much for making time and speaking with us today. Really appreciate your time.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.